I'm Bob Trump, physical therapist.
Brad Heineck, physical therapist.
And together we are the most famous physical therapists on the internet.
In our opinion.
In our opinion. Brad, I thought we'd try something different today. You know, there's a lot of interest in the field of physical therapy itself as an occupation.
Sure.
And I thought it might be interesting if we just sit down with a casual conversation here and talk about physical therapy, what it's like to be a physical therapist.
Right.
Because you and I have worked in a lot of settings over a lot of years.
Sure.
So I think we can give a good perspective of you know, what it's like.
Right. And we may not be the most famous physical therapist, but I think we are.
In our minds we are. So, you know, with physical therapy, we're treating patients who've been injured, who've had surgery, who've maybe had genetic problems. Well, Brad.
It just goes on, like you said. You know, I've worked with people from literally age 2 to 102, from multiple
disease processes,
multiple sclerosis, fractures, auto accidents, work injuries. Boy, it's such a gamut that.
It's a very interesting field because you do get to see a wide range of patients,
right.
Especially if you work in a practice where that's the case.
Right.
Because there are narrow-based practices too, where I had a friend that worked in a clinic that was just back and neck. Now, to me, that would be difficult. I mean, I would be fine for a while because you become an expert at those areas.
Sure.
But it would get a little tiring after a while just to see the same backs and necks.
And I think both you and I, over the majority of our careers, have worked where we see a variety from both of us probably haven't done too many pediatric, but we have.
I have done pediatric, and I know you have too, and that really wasn't our cup of tea, was it?
Right, right. No, I find that challenging. But anyways, from the teenage years up to, well, you know, over 100 is not uncommon.
Well, let's start first, Brad. Let's just talk about the schooling a little bit. The schooling has increased, and Brad, you went as a little bit, as you were an older student.
Right, I was, when I got into PT school, I think I was 31 or 32, had 3 years of college before that. Before that, a whole separate career working in, as an electrical mechanical engineer, which is a whole other story, but completely different.
And that's very difficult, I think. I have to give kudos to you, Brad, because there's massive memorization involved with physical therapy. And I knew a guy that went back to get his, he had a doctorate already and was going back to get his physical therapy degree, and he just struggled. He said, I couldn't keep up with the younger students. He was 31 years old too, or 32,
sure.
And just to try to memorize like the young kids can. So, I mean, ideally, if you can go when you're 21, 22,
sure.
23, 24, that's...
But if you're an older person, you know, your later 20s, 30s, and you want to go back, actually we had someone, she was 51 in our class, and she went back to school, and so you can do it. Your advantage is you're typically more focused. You know what you want to do, and you're going to do what you need to do to get through. And it's not so bad.
Would you? Now my class was, I would say, probably 3/4 women.
Yeah.
I think it is still a female-dominated
sure.
field. The other thing.
That's why I went into it, Bob. Just kidding, just kidding.
Give himself a chance. I think, by I mean, is trying to pick up a woman, not to give himself a chance. But anyway, I think that generally a lot of the people that go into it are very health-minded.
Sure.
Would you agree with that? I think we had a lot of good athletes in my class.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I mean, as an athlete, you like to understand how the body works, and in physical therapy, it's the same thing.
Sure.
That's what got me attracted to it.
Yeah, I guess with me, I was, for 10 years before that, I was involved in martial arts and karate, which you work with your body extensively. And I always wondered why these techniques hurt. You know, why when you twist your wrist this way, does it really hurt on some of these wrist locks or whatever? And I'd go to class and stretch out and I'd feel better. It's like my back would bother me at work. If I went to karate and stretched out, I'd feel better. That this is a lot better than taking pain pills or going to the chiropractor or the doctors. So that's what got me interested.
And I see a lot of people that were treated by physical therapy that then went on because they became interested in the field after that. So that's the other thing that we often see. It's a long haul now. When I went, it was 5 years. The degree I got, it was 3 years undergrad and 2 years graduate. I don't know what yours was.
You could get it in 4 years. I took 5 myself, but you had to have such a high GPA just to apply to a PT school. You know, you pretty much needed straight A's. That's what, you know, when you're getting those classes before you apply to it. So I took a little more time being out of school for a while, so I would maintain my
I think
GPA.
the other thing, and I don't know if this is the case anymore, but did you have to take physics?
Oh, yeah.
And you probably had no trouble with physics, but a lot of the class, one class that seems to trip up a lot of the PT students did seem to be physics, because that's not, you would probably think that way because you were in kind of a field that way.
Right.
But
Yeah,
a lot of the PTs didn't think in those terms of how a physics major or someone in
Right,
science and things.
physics is, to me, it's what the body's about, is physics, so I can see physics and physical therapies go hand in hand in my mind.
So let's talk about some of the settings that you're going to work at, and we've worked at them all. I've worked in a hospital. I worked in a very large hospital. I worked at the Mayo Clinic system when I worked at St. Mary's, and what I liked about it is you have amazing resources, and like if you want to get involved in so many things like such as continuing education or giving continuing education classes, and they got beautiful settings.
Yeah.
What I didn't like about it, which really didn't fit me, is I'm kind of a entrepreneurial person, and I really like to come up with new ideas on a way to do things, and in a big old stodgy institution, that wasn't taken very well.
Right.
Nobody really wanted to change anything.
Yeah, I had the same experience at working at a larger hospital in La Crosse. Great place to work, love the people there, but if you had an idea, you could talk to your supervisor, they'd have to talk to their management, different layers of management. By the time it got anywhere, it wasn't going to happen.
You are a cog in the machinery,
Right.
somewhat. I mean, you have to understand that. I mean,
Right.
you're just, they're not going to miss you once you're gone. Because it's a large organization, but
They didn't just miss you either.
they didn't miss me either, is what I'm trying to say. So, and the negative thing now with hospitals, and both Brad and I were just talking about that, we used to not have to very rarely work weekends, and now I have friends that work in hospitals that are working every fourth weekend or every third weekend, and weekend work is hard, because what happens is, during the week you have all these patients that are in the hospital, and on the weekend they still need to be seen. So they fill with just a skeleton crew. They only do a few PTs as physical therapists as they can get by with. So you're seeing everybody else's patients too.
Right.
And you're seeing them for only a short period of time.
Right.
But you have to do all the notes.
All the paperwork goes that day. They're hard weekends. You don't want to, if you're working Saturday morning all day, you're not going to go out late Friday night.
Right.
You're going to get a good night's sleep and get ready to go to work.
It's a real disadvantage. I mean, it's not fun. And the other thing is, if you never know this, but if you didn't do the evaluation on a patient, it's hard to know a patient and know what they're like and so you're coming in cold. You don't know what these patients are like or how they're like, and I would say weekend work is probably one of the biggest downsides of working at a hospital.
Right. If you're going to work at an outpatient clinic, they're probably going to have weekends.
They're going to have some weekends too, but
Saturday mornings.
You're going to probably be doing more of your own patients, I would guess.
Right. Not that influx of
get
everyone done before the day's
Probably
over.
not as many as you think. A lot of people don't like to be seen on the weekends. You know what I mean? You think that, that's when they want to be seen, but a lot of people want to be doing their own thing on the weekend too, so patients don't often want to be seen on weekends.
So, if you're looking into this field, probably one of the big things is, how much do people get paid in this field?
Well, I think they can look that up, and I think that varies a lot depending on whether you're starting out, and I don't even have the numbers on that, Brad, do you?
No, but it's just a ballpark figure. Anywhere starting salary out of school, I would assume somewhere between around 50 and 70.
Right. Yeah, 50 and 70.
Yeah.
And it's a good wage.
$50,000 and $70,000 a year, not per hour.
I think that the other thing is, if you're trying to make a lot of money, you can become what is called a traveling therapist.
Sure.
And this is what you do: is you work for what is called a traveling company. You'll go to a place for 3 months. And I think there's a lot of nursing homes that are looking for this.
Sure.
It's just where one good thing about the field of physical therapy, the entire time I've been in it, there's almost always been a shortage of therapists.
Right.
So there's plenty of jobs, and when there's a huge shortage, then you can start dictating incomes, especially if you go into areas where there's extreme shortages.
Right.
And so you can go on these traveling things, and you can do it for 3-4 months and make a lot of money per hour.
You may not be working in a place you'd want to work at a long time. That's why there are people filling those positions usually. They're Well,
not always desirable.
yeah, it's not desirable locations.
They might not, they may not be terrible.
Yeah, it's possible.
And you can work down south when there's a lot of
Yeah.
need if you want to get
Sure.
down south during the winter.
Yeah, if you don't have a family and you got that personality, man, that's a great option.
One thing, a lot of people talk about, you're gonna put that much time, 7 years into a degree now, 4 years undergrad, 3 years. I mean, a lot of, you need to start comparing it to other degrees that you can get in that time. One would be like a pharmacist.
Yeah.
Now, a pharmacist, you're gonna work every weekend just about, I think, aren't you?
Well, I got a friend at farmer, he's every other weekend.
Every other
He
weekend?
was every third, and he works for Walgreens, and they were doing every third, now it's every other, but you're gonna make more money as a pharmacist.
You're gonna make more money as a pharmacist.
Same amount of school.
How about a physician's assistant?
That I cannot speak of.
I think they'll make more money.
Yeah, they're gonna make
and
more.
their hours will probably be.
If you're paying for your own school and you wanna get into healthcare, you gotta think about money versus how much if
You're gonna make.
You know, unless
Yeah.
someone's paying for your way through school, then you don't have to worry about it, but you got big loans to pay back.
Yeah, as much as you think that big money is gonna pay it off soon, it doesn't. There's too many other things that you're trying to pay off.
Real
so.
word called real world.
Brad and I, like I said, we both worked in a school setting. We both didn't like it in a sense, I would say, because it takes a different person that works with the handicapped children or the children
Yeah.
who are delayed. I own a practice, and I have people that work for me that work in the schools, and they love it. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, they love it. I mean, so it's just really a matter of, it would be one of those things that if you think of considering that, you want to do an internship and see what it's like.
Don't jump into it. When I got into it, it was like, this would be kind of neat, and it's such a different mindset.
It is.
The whole atmosphere, you set goals that go on for 2 to 3 years, whereas an outpatient, you set goals that you want to get this person bending so the back feels better in 2 to 3 weeks, and maybe 2 or 3 months, maybe a long-term out, but it's a whole different mindset.
What's nice about physical therapy school is you will do clinicals,
Yeah.
and like I went to Mayo, we did a whole year of clinicals. And I was working full-time as a PT student, in different settings.
And you don't get paid, right?
And you don't get paid. We
Part of
actually
school.
did get paid a little bit.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and I got to work in a clinic up in the Twin Cities. I got to work in hospitals. I got to work in a variety of hospitals, a burn unit, so working with, that's another area you can work in, is working with patients who are recovering from burn wounds.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of areas of specialty.
Sure.
I had a friend that did just peer research. He worked at, and
Sure.
that's usually going to be a larger institution, so. Brad and I have both worked in nursing homes extensively. What we'll do is we'll see people in the nursing home, but we also see people from the community, because these are all small communities.
Yeah, smaller towns are 30, 40 miles away from the main hospital. People that, it's great to work with the residents in the nursing home, you can help them out, and then people that live in the area. Well, if they got an ACL surgery and they've got to drive to 3 days a week for rehab, 30 miles back and forth, $4 a gallon, that adds up. They'd much rather go to the local therapist and save time and money.
I think one of the positive things about working with some of the elderly is in a nursing home is you get to see them every day, and you kind of develop a relationship, whereas
Sure.
some of the outpatients where you might see once or twice a week and only a few times.
Right.
It's not, you don't develop that relationship
Sure.
that you might
Yeah.
in a skilled nursing
Right.
facility. So, home health, did you ever do any home health?
Yes, I did.
Home health is tough, I think, in the sense that people are almost always worse off than you think they should be. A lot of them shouldn't be at home anymore.
Right.
That's the one thing I discovered. And you will find some amazing settings that people live in.
Yeah.
I actually found one, and this is honest to God truth, they had a dirt floor in one of the rooms.
Really?
The floor was tore up and they had dirt. I'm not kidding you. I've been to a house that had a hoarder,
Yeah.
he had just had a path that you could go through.
Yeah.
So, and your equipment isn't that great that you can bring with, and the paperwork requirements are huge
Right.
on home
Yeah,
health.
I did it for about a year, and I won't go back to that, but there's Pam I work with, she loved it. And
Yeah.
she so it's one of those, you have to almost go and try it to know. But that wasn't for myself either.
Right, and that's the good thing about physical therapy, because there is a lot of jobs, you can usually try a setting,
Yeah.
and if you don't like it, you can just try another one.
And another great thing about it is you can work part-time pretty easily.
Oh, that is a huge advantage.
Right.
I agree, Brad.
You don't have to be 40 hours a week. People will want you for 20 hours a week, especially if you're filling those odd times where other people don't want to work. And that can be,
You're right, and that's one of, I think, the huge advantages of physical therapy as a lifestyle choice.
Sure.
If you decide that, yeah, I'm gonna try to work 30 hours a week or 20 hours a week, and you can still make a pretty decent wage at that.
Sure, you bet.
I have a lot of people that work for me that fit into that genre. Their moms or their dads, and they want to spend time with their children and handle things, and they're able to do so. That extra day a week or that extra 2 days a week is amazing what you can get done if you're not working.
Right. The other great advantage is, boy, when you have a family or yourself and you get injured, you know if you need to go to the doctor or not. My daughter fell down in basketball, injured her shoulder, she was crying, she had ice pack on there. You know, I checked her out after the game. It was very clear, you know, she didn't have a fracture. I was not worried about taking her home. Most people, if I didn't know anything, if I wanted to feel, I would have took her to the ER or whatever, made sure I got x-rays. And
you have a general knowledge better than the average public in all of the medical field.
Right.
You're going to just kind of know things a little more than the average person.
You're going to know if you're going to need ibuprofen, a cold pack, hot pack. So many simple things that can make your life.
You're even exposed to a lot of disease processes and things that you'll understand better.
You feel so much more comfortable about your health in general.
One thing I don't know if you know about the field of physical therapy, which is a disadvantage, and I think that we're actually, that's one of the things they're trying to head toward, and that's the reason they have the doctorate program now, is they're trying to, right now, in order for us to see a patient and to get paid for it, in most instances, we have to have a doctor's order first.
Right.
And that's a huge disadvantage against us versus like the chiropractors who can see these patients right off the street, get paid for that. Ours, you know, patients first have to see the doctor, then they come and see us. Now, legally, we can see these people right away, but Medicare's not going to pay for it. Most insurances aren't going to pay for it. Medical assistance isn't going to pay for it. So it's a huge disadvantage.
And most people aren't aware of that anyway.
No.
You know, it's not advertised. So.
So that's one of the reasons I think we're hoping as a profession that eventually we'll become more like podiatrists, where we can see patients directly, and not have to have that interim step.
Right. So if you're thinking about physical therapy, you're going to go to get your doctor. Well, that you get to be. That's one big advantage. Hopefully, that's going to turn around, and I think it will.
Paperwork is getting worse and worse. There's no way around it. When I look at how much paperwork I did, earlier in my career versus now, it's worse every year. Most of it's getting computerized now, which helps and hurts. I mean, you're definitely going to have to know how to type.
Right. Voice recognition is getting a lot better, so I'm thinking.
I hope. Both Brad and I mean, dictate, and I love dictating.
Oh, God, I'm so much more efficient.
So,
but
well, this video is getting a little bit long, Brad. So I think that gave everybody kind of a flavor of what it's like to be a physical therapist.
If you want to be at PT, go for it.
And by the way, subscribe to our channel. I'm going to point out because that's where the subscribe button is, right, Nancy? And but secondly, give us some comments on this video. If there's questions, you're a physical therapy student, we'd love to hear from you. We'll give you advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, take care.